I put this program on for my Girl Scout Gold Award, and it's made possible by the grant from Character Counts. And this is a grant where if you have an idea to make the community better, they will help you find the funding to do so. So if any of you guys have any ideas like that, you should definitely talk to them. Today we're going to be talking about self-defense, healthy relationships, all that kind of stuff, and this is to help you guys prevent anything from happening to you, your friends, or your family in the future. Today we have Mrs. Dybel from the Domestic Violence Center, Mrs. Dybel, the other Mrs. Dybel, who's a school counselor. We have Mr. Taylor from the police department, and we have Mr. Cunningham, who's going to be teaching the self-defense. So I hope that this really helps you guys, and I'm very happy that you guys are here. Thank you. And so now we're going to have adults go into that room, and the high schoolers, teenagers, middle schoolers will stay.
Okay. Hello. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
My name is Alana Dybel, and I work with the Domestic Violence Project. We are here located in Starr County. We have two shelters, one here in Canton, one in Canton and one in Massillon. We also do legal advocacy and medical advocacy. And what that means is if somebody ends up in the hospital due to a domestic violence situation or ends up going through the legal process because of a domestic violence situation, we send out folks to help through those processes, okay? We also have a 24-hour hotline that anyone can call at any time for questions, help with safety planning, or emergent situations. We also do transitional housing. That's when people might leave the shelter and need more permanent housing. And then we have community education, which is where I come in. So I go around to schools, and I go to some schools regularly, and we have a long 10-day curriculum called Safe Dates. Also, we do community outreach just like this, where we do small groups, and then schools for small groups as well. So we're gonna do a little activity. It's a little difficult in this room, but I think we can handle it. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna say, this is the line of divide. You see these two outlets on the wall, probably some sort of ventilation system. We're gonna call that the line, okay? So this is the middle. On this side of the room, healthy relationships. On this side of the room, unhealthy. So I'm gonna give you 3 different scenarios, and you're gonna put your body whether you think it's healthy or unhealthy, okay? Everybody good? Get up, shake it off. You have to move. I need participation. Just can't stand and speak. All right. So your first scenario, your dating partner tells you what to wear. Healthy? Unhealthy. Your dating partner tells you what to wear. Wow, everybody's on the unhealthy. Unhealthy. Okay, so why are you over here? Somebody tell me. What makes it unhealthy?
It's a way of controlling your individuality.
Okay, it seems controlling, to control what you put on your body. That's your individual. And you have something else? Something different? No? Okay. Let's see. You get anxious or nervous when you can't respond to your dating partner's text right away. You get anxious or nervous when you can't respond to your dating partner's text right away. Nobody's moving. All right, so so why is it always unhealthy?
Because you shouldn't have to feel like you have to respond immediately to their text.
You shouldn't feel like you have to respond immediately to their text. Okay, anybody else?
You shouldn't feel consequences of not answering.
You think you're nervous or anxious because of the consequences of not
Possibly.
answering your phone? Possibly. Let me ask you this. What if you can't get back to them because you're driving, but something's going on in the relationship? Somebody's in the hospital, somebody's sick, and that's why you're anxious or nervous about not being able to respond right away.
Even then, they should be understanding that you're driving and to keep yourself safe so that there's not 2 people in a relationship that are in a hospital.
Okay, but is it okay that you felt anxious or nervous in that moment? Like, you want to know the answer, right?
Yeah.
Okay,
I think if it's that important, then maybe they should just pull over if they feel like they need to answer it immediately,
okay.
instead of putting themselves in danger.
Is it okay to feel that way in that moment then? Is it healthy to feel that way in that moment?
That's a gray area, I think.
Okay, okay. Let's go back to that, because nobody moved. I'm gonna go back to the dressing one. So, what if you're going to a Halloween party and you wanna go in a couple outfit and your dating partner says, I want you to be Cleopatra. Is that okay? No? Yes? You say yes back here. Why?
I mean, I think you're allowed to like want to act with your partner.
Okay. What if you're going to a nice dinner and they say, hey, dress up tonight. We're going out to Bender's. Is that okay?
There's a difference between suggesting and commanding.
There is.
Yeah.
There is, okay. But
More of a suggestion.
it's situational,
Yeah.
okay? So I'm gonna have you take a seat. So we move, we're gonna go with that. All right, so it is situational. How do we decide what's healthy or unhealthy, right? How do we make those decisions? Because on the blanket statement, everybody was over here. It's unhealthy, absolutely. But when we talk about all of the situation around it, or I'm gonna use this word context around it, we can then determine what maybe might be healthy behaviors, what might be unhealthy behaviors, or what might go into that area we call abuse. All right. So 1 in 4 women experience some sort of intimate partner violence throughout their life. 1 in 4 LGBTQ folks experience some sort of intimate partner violence throughout their life. And 1 in 3 teens. 1 in 3 teens. So that's really a big push on why we come out and talk to young people. Why do you think that might be? Why do you think it might be a little higher for teens than different segments of the population?
I want to say that teens are still learning about the world, and they're still very, like, not always, but like their minds are easy to shape and mold, so they're easy to control.
Okay, for sure. Okay, we'll say that they're learning. And I really like how you said they're learning about the world, and they're also learning how to date, right? So we're starting to get into relationships and we're learning about it. So it's important to kind of, for ourselves, figure out what's healthy for us, what's unhealthy for us, and what, for everyone, would move into that area of abuse. So there are what we classify as 5 different types of abuse. 5 different types of abuse. Verbal, emotional, mental, physical, and sexual. So, what's verbal abuse? What would be verbal abuse?
Using your words like to hurt someone.
Using your words to hurt somebody. Absolutely. So, how many people in this room have told someone they love or care about to shut up in the last week? Who has told somebody they love or care about? Who's called somebody they love or care about a name? Who has sworn, used the swear words to someone that they love or care about just in the last week? Few people. So, are all of us hand raisers abusive? Yes, no? No, maybe, I don't know. But what we are is human and we make mistakes. So that's sort of that unhealthy area, right? We know we shouldn't swear or tell somebody we love or care about, shut up. We know those things. But we do them because we make mistakes. What do we do as a result of that? Do we do it for different reasons? Do we do it to control that person? Okay? We have to think about the context, about the whys, okay? So, emotional abuse. Emotional abuse is to control the way somebody feels. That's the bottom line of what emotional abuse is. So emotional abuse can look like trying to make somebody feel a certain thing. So you guys are all really schooled in the world of digital things, right? Technology. Digital abuse many times falls into that category of emotional abuse. emotional abuse. Why do you think that might be? What do you think somebody is trying to do to somebody's feelings by maybe picking on them online or posting unflattering pictures or telling secrets in a public space? What do you think they're trying to do?
Take them down.
Take them down. But what do they want them to feel?
Hurt.
Hurt. What are some other words?
Like unworthy of someone else's care, maybe.
Unworthy.
Guilty.
Guilty, could be. I always think of the word embarrassed, right? You're trying to embarrass that person. You're trying to make them feel unworthy or guilty or any of the other things, but it's the embarrassed. This is public now. These things that were supposed to be private. Mental abuse. So mental abuse, if emotional abuse is to control the way somebody thinks or feels, excuse me, what do you think mental abuse is? To control the way someone, yeah, I blew it, didn't I? I told you. Thanks. So who's heard the term gaslighting?
Yeah.
Do you know what it is?
Vaguely, like, not in the way that I can explain it.
Okay, that's okay.
I don't want to say it wrong, but like when someone projects like their issues like onto you, like you're responsible for it then.
And yeah, maybe. Yep, definitely. That can happen. Anybody else have any idea what gaslighting might be, like a definition or what it means or an example? Okay, so gaslighting is trying to make someone think something that isn't necessarily part of reality. So it comes from this term from this 1940s play and movie where the guy, the husband in the relationship, was making, this was back before electricity, was making the gas lights in the house flicker. So he's doing this over a period of time to make his wife feel like she was going crazy because he would act like they were not flickering, but they're fine. So he just over and over and over again. Lit more and more each night until she thought she was going crazy. We have an example from the shelter. A woman came into the shelter and she'd been married for 15 years and lived in the same house. Most days she'd come downstairs, go into the kitchen, open the cupboard door, pull out a bowl, put some cereal and some milk in it, sit down and eat her cereal. One night in the middle of the night, her husband got out of bed while she slept and moved around the kitchen. So when she came down to get her bowl of cereal, she opens the cupboard where it normally is, no bowls. So he comes up behind her, honey, 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 we always keep the bowls over here. What is wrong with you? Same couple, they went shopping at the mall. So she goes into Macy's, trying on clothes. He goes out into the parking lot while she's trying on clothes and moves the car. So when she comes out of the mall and walks to where the car should be, it's not there. And he can say, honey, 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 we parked over here. What do you think he's trying to do there about making her think something? Trying to control the way she thinks. Any ideas? How would you feel if you were that person? Like you were going, you weren't able to trust your thoughts, weren't able to trust yourself. And if you can't trust yourself, who are you gonna trust? Who knew where the car was? Who knew where the bowls of cereal were? Does that make sense? Okay, so that's to control the way somebody thinks in order to have power or control over them. That person, the victim, becomes then much more dependent on their abuser. Does that make sense? All right, physical. We know what physical abuse is, and actually the other Mrs. Dybel is going to talk about that in a little bit, but let's just throw out some examples so we're all on the same page. Physical. Hitting. What else? Come on, we know some abusive or violent things. Hitting. Kicking. Punching. Scratching. Slapping. What about restraining? Not allowing somebody to leave. Where are we gonna put that? Pushing is one. let's say someone wants to leave the situation and someone restrains them from leaving the situation. What are we gonna call that? Is that physical? Is that emotional? That's physical. You're absolutely right. Not allowing someone to leave is physical. What about breaking and throwing things? Where would we put that so far? Physical. Physical. Because the point is not the things, it's that it could maybe happen to you too, right? So yes, so I will say that these two, physical and sexual, are always abusive the first time. Always. It doesn't go, it's not just unhealthy, it goes immediately into the abusive category because the context isn't really needed. The why, okay, isn't really needed when we're talking about physical and sexual abuse. It just is abusive. Yes? All right. Sexual abuse. That's any unwanted intimate touching, any part of it, right? Kissing. Sexual abuse? When someone doesn't want to be kissed? Yes, any unwanted. Another one would be stealthing. Is anybody aware of that term in here? Okay. That's saying you're on a birth control or pretending to use one and then not while you're having that intimate act. So stealthing we put into the sexual abuse category as well. So now that we've gone through some of the different types of abuse, what are some things that you've noticed? Did you notice that what's the context around the first three, the verbal, emotional, mental? That there has to be control going on, okay? There has to be some sort of, one person has more power than the other, and there has to be that system of control. So to control the way someone thinks, feels, or acts. To control the way the person feels, thinks, and acts. There also needs to be a pattern. So what's a pattern? From your school. What does pattern mean?
It's like all the same things keep happening over and over.
Same things keep happening over and over and over again. Does it have to look exactly the same? No. It doesn't have to look exactly the same. Could you pass those down? So I'm going to pass out to you this power and control wheel. On the one side, it says teen power and control. And on the other side, teen equality. This is the ideal. This is what most people want out of our relationships, right? And the other side, the teen power and control wheel, are some ways that power and control can come out in different relationships. I can do two. Would you pass two down as well? Thank you. Yeah. Yep. Okay. All right. I'm checking on time because I did not notice when I started, so I'm just checking on time here. And
I didn't get one.
oh, I'm sorry, I didn't
It's
have
okay.
that enough there.
Don't worry about it.
All right, I'm also going to pass out to you two red flag, green flag cards. Two red flag, green flag cards. One can be considered heterosexual relationships, and the other one is LGBTQ relationships. And the reason we have two is because the abuse can kind of look different in LGBT community relationships as opposed to heterosexual relationships. How about I get some help passing out? Who wants to volunteer? You up? All right. I'm gonna give you those and I'll pass out these. So what I'd like you to do is you can look at the wheel, you can look at the red flag, green flag, but I want you to pair up with the person next to you. Just pair up. I figure you're already sitting with your buddies, so you might know the people next to you. And I want you to read through until you have something that A, you didn't know before.
Yeah.
Could you pass these down, please?
Yeah.
You didn't know before, or that you disagree with. That you disagree with. Or, or just are confused about. To wonder her, okay. So yes, I make you work a little bit. Talk it through. Come up with something, can be on the power and control wheel, or one of the red flag, green flag cards. Just anything. And when you have something, raise your hand. I think so. Just anything. Three more minutes. Yeah, sorry. Everybody knew everything before walking in here. Or just want to comment on, I'm not real specific, you just have to make a comment. Yes.
I didn't know that technically texting them constantly would be on the red flag list.
Yeah, that one I get a lot of pushback on because they just think, oh, we're in a new relationship. We just want to talk to each other all the time, right? But when I asked if you feel anxious, if it's okay to feel anxious when you can't get back to that person right away, everybody went over here. Nobody broke rank. So you're texting constantly, there may be a reason. And if one person's struggling to get back to that person, they may very well feel anxious or nervous for not being able to. And then if you're feeling that way, it may be because the other person can get real upset and they don't get back to them right away. I mean, I know I've been upset when I've sent something really funny and didn't get a response right away. That's hilarious, right? Okay. Anybody else? Yes.
It's about keeping tabs on you 24/7. Because, like, in some way, like, wouldn't that be a safe thing to do? But, like, any other way?
Okay, absolutely. So, if your partner wants to know where you are and who you're with at all times, where would you stand if I put the line here? You can't stand in the middle. You gotta pick a team, right? So, it can be safety. I just wonder where you're going. Where you're going. But it also can be, I don't trust you, I'm jealous all the time, I don't want you around certain people, there's too many boys gonna be there, you can't go, there's too many girls gonna be there, and I'm gonna be upset and text you the whole time that you're gone. That's the other thing with the texting all the time when you're gone, they're constantly getting your attention when you're with other people. It may be because they're too jealous of you being around other people, and that can turn into an isolation situation. That can turn into trying to keep you from other people. Anything else? No? Absolutely, we're good. I did want to point out one more thing since nobody brought it up. I think it's on the red flag card, but it is also on the teen power and control wheel. And it talks a little bit about using social status, And what that can sometimes look like is when someone has one of the people in the relationship has a very, very extreme view of what people should act like. Men need to act like this, women need to behave like this. If you're gay, you need to be this way. If you're bisexual, you need to be that way. If people have very, very strong opinions about how people should behave, that is a red flag for you being in that relationship. Because if that expectation isn't met, things can go, they might try to get you to act that way quickly. And that can be by trying to control the way that you act, think, or feel. Okay? Does that make sense? Everybody good with that? So those really strong gender stereotypes can be a red flag. Now, you'll notice, I want to make a comment on these cards, you'll notice that a lot of these things fall into that gray area. How do you know when they go from being maybe unhealthy to abusive? It's a follow-up question. How do you know?
If they're doing it often.
If there's a pattern, right? This is going on a lot. There's a pattern. What else?
You start like changing like just doing whatever they say.
If you start to actually then change because of it, probably that pattern, right? Anything else? What about the context, why they're doing it? Do you feel like it's to control the way that you think, the way that you feel, or the way that you act? All right. So that is my time. I appreciate all of you. Thank you very much. Any questions before I turn it over to Mrs. Dybel? We're good? All right, awesome. Thank you.
I'm going to introduce myself as Susan Dybel, and I'm a licensed professional clinical counselor and have been for over 20 years. So most of my professional life has been working with depression, anxiety, gay, lesbian, bipolar, schizophrenia, everything you can imagine under the sun with diagnosing and treating mental and emotional disorders. In the last 10 years, I worked with trauma primarily, and got to a point where I decided that I need a little change in things, so I went back to school to become a school counselor. So I'm dual licensed as a professional clinical counselor and also a school counselor. So that's the direction I'm moving in, but I still find myself talking about clinical mental health because it really kind of overlaps with everything. Most of what Mrs. Dybel spoke with you about is very, very pertinent information, very helpful. I'm going to jump in with a few things that are extra, and certainly she could continue talking after I'm finished and still add more information, because this topic is really has an endless supply of knowledge. Working with the last employment position I had was working with middle schoolers, 5th through 8th grade in Canton South. Very much enjoy that age range, and I have 4 children of my own from college down to 1st grade. So the good thing about that is that not all of them get angry at me at the same time. There's always at least one child who still likes mom. So I deal with a whole multitude of issues. With teen dating violence, when I was working in private practice as a clinical therapist, many times that was not the issue that someone would come in for or that the parents would bring the child in for. It was depression, anxiety, failing grades, blossoming sexuality, I'm not sure where I fit, where I go, what to do. And eventually things would start to come out about the teen dating violence. And when I began 30 years ago, when I went to college, I started out my working in this field as a volunteer on the hotline of the domestic violence shelter in Wayne County called Every Woman's House. So during my 4 years in college, I spent a lot of time working with women and a few men, but mostly women at that time 30 years ago who were victims of domestic violence. And at that time the word battered was used, battered women. And I'm really glad that it's not used anymore, because every time I heard it, I would think of a poor woman being dipped in egg and breadcrumbs and fried, and it really bothered me. So people no longer say that, they say domestic violence. Mrs. Dybel talked to you about physical, mental, verbal, emotional, sexual. There is also financial abuse that you see in teen dating relationships. And an example of that would be someone running out of lunch money, someone needing a ticket to a concert, someone needing gas in their car, not having money to do it, and somebody else magically appearing and saying, I'm not going to provide these things for you if you don't do as I say. And again, there is the power differential there, where the person providing the money is the person who is abusing you. Teens who suffer dating abuse are much more likely to be susceptible to later alcoholism, eating disorders, promiscuity. Does everybody know promiscuity? Okay. Thoughts of suicide and violent behavior. And teen dating violence does not just encompass females. Males are also victims of teen dating violence in heterosexual and homosexual relationships. Everybody know the LGBTQ plus, okay. In that community, dating violence is often ignored simply because folks are afraid that when reaching out, they may not want to involve adults. They may not be ready to reveal their sexuality. They may feel that they themselves are to blame. If they were not in a same-sex relationship, then this would not be happening. So there are a number of factors. There is less legal protection also for gay, lesbian students, but it does vary from state to state. And I believe Ohio is one of those that does allow restraining orders for same-sex couples, but not all states do. There's also fear of retaliation, harassment, and bullying for same-sex couples where there's abuse and someone comes forward. It's not as acceptable as somebody being chivalrous and helping a young lady as opposed to in a same-sex relationship. As I said, there is blame and harassment, and folks are not as likely to help. When you think of dating, I'm going to ask you, what kind of words do people use when they say we're dating? Because not everybody says that. What else do people say? Yes? Going out, yes? I'm sorry.
Sorry.
You were saying?
Together.
Together, we're together, we're going out. What else? We're hooking up, we're hanging out, we're together. Sometimes people will say, yeah, we're friends, we hang out. He drives me home, sometimes we stop, no big deal. And they kind of like gloss over things and don't come right out and say we're dating, we have intimate relations. And you see that in both heterosexual and homosexual relationships. So people will downplay that because, well, they don't want you in their business. And sometimes people will say we're just friends, but they're sleeping together. So that's confusing, but sometimes that happens as well. So abuse can happen in any of these forums depending on how you and your partner describe yourselves. And simply put, a dating partner is a person that you're in a relationship with, and what are some characteristics of the healthy relationship? Mrs. Dowell went over several of those. Yes?
Treating them as an equal.
Treating them equal, good. Another one? Yes. Communicating, very good.
Trust.
Trust, very important, yes. Anybody else? Yes.
Support.
Support, good. Supporting that person and what their goals are and them supporting you. How about the R word?
Respect.
Yeah, you guys got it. Okay, good. And when you're in a partnership with someone, it's good to know that you both are calling it the same thing. If I'm describing my relationship with my female partner as we are living together, engaged, this is a long-term relationship, and she's like, yeah, Susan and I just kind of happen to live together. There's really nothing going on here. That's a problem. And underneath that may lie abuse. So having the support, the respect, considering, both of you considering yourselves and communicating that you are on the same level is all tantamount to having a healthy relationship and not letting it get abusive. Okay, the physical abuse. Holy cow. I grew up with two older brothers. It was them and me. And let me tell you, you either learn to run really fast or you fight. And I never could run. I was always heavy set and I couldn't run. So I learned how to fight. Not very well, but anyhow. So what kind of physical abuse do you face? I think we talked hitting, biting, kicking, scratching. What are some of the other ones that are unusual that people don't really consider and are easier to hide? If I'm being abused by my husband, but dressed as I am, it's easier for me to hide it. What are other kinds of physical abuse that teens do to each other? Yes?
Like wrist grabbing.
Ooh, yes. The wrist twist, grabbing and not letting go. Absolutely, good. Anything else? Yes?
Burn somebody.
Yes, very good. Burn with what?
I would want to say like a curling iron or something, so it looks more natural, like
Okay.
it was an accident.
Sure, right, absolutely. And with a curling iron, you would say it was an accident. Okay, a cigarette burn, or maybe just a match. someone daring you, let me see what this feels like, okay? What else do people do that are physically abusive?
Throwing things.
Throwing things, yes, absolutely. Yes,
I know Mrs. Dybel said earlier, like restraining them, like telling them like they can't leave.
yes. Having physical control over them, you can't leave until I let you go. Very good. Good. Isaac,
Shoving.
shoving, perfect, perfect. And along those lines, how about anybody, are you all high school or do we have any middle schoolers here? Middle schoolers are my favorite, I love you guys. In middle school, which I called the combat zone, if you get through middle school, you can get through anything. Kids have this thing they do, and it's happened to my kids, where you're going through the halls between classes and somebody grabs your backpack and yanks on it, and you're still walking and your backpack's back here. What happens? Okay, is that abuse? You betcha. How about when you're going up or down the stairs at the middle school and somebody does that? Abusive. And you don't even have to be dating them. That could be just a nasty mean thing that a friend does. So don't let them do it. There's another one that happens in the summertime around swimming pools that is very, very physically abusive. And again, having older brothers, been through this back in the 1970s. But I saw a neighbor kid do it next door to us over the summer, and it kind of brought to the surface, I forgot that kids still do this, and it's very mean. What happens in a pool?
Pushing each other in,
Yes, yes, shoving someone in, yes,
holding somebody under.
absolutely. Yep. Pushing somebody under, dunking people. I watched two boys, well, one chased the other around the pool, and the parents just thought they were playing. And I watched and watched and watched, and the kid was breathless, couldn't get his breath, kept getting dunked under, and my blood pressure's going up. And, you know, I'm here as a guest swimming in your pool. I don't have my professional hat on. I need to keep quiet, right? So it went on for a while, and my son, who was 6 at the time, got up out of the pool and grabbed every pool toy he could find and just pelted the bully with it, even though the bully was twice his size. And finally, the kid who was getting dunked swam back behind me, and it stopped. But that's the kind of thing that is also very abusive. And I see sometimes that happening at the pool, at the public pools, couples who are together and it's fun, and they're getting close and they're playing, and then they dunk. So that is something else to watch out for. How about, has anybody ever grabbed your face and said, listen to me when I'm talking to you? Sometimes you will see that. It's typically parent-child, but when you are in a dating relationship as a teenager and somebody says, I'm talking to you, you better listen to me, or grabs your face, that's abusive. That's not okay. Okay, so escaping physical abuse. Number one, realize that it's wrong. Acknowledge it, name it. This is wrong. You cannot do this to me. I don't care whether we're friends, we're lovers, we're whatnot. This is not okay. Number two, find an adult. If not somebody in your home, find a neighbor, find a teacher, find your school counselor. Talk to someone that you can trust and let them know what's going on and that you need help. And create a safety plan. This is something that has always been done in the domestic violence shelter that is very helpful. And also with grown adults going through problems with child custody, sometimes you need a safety plan. And so with younger folks, a safety plan might be as simple as go to your guidance counselor, or school counselor, I'm sorry, not supposed to say guidance anymore. Go to your school counselor, and it may be something as simple as being moved to a different science class or going down a different hallway. They are there to help you, and your life should not be that difficult that you have to worry about this. But you do have to acknowledge it and ask for help. And remember that physical abuse, mental abuse, sexual, financial, it's never your fault. One last thing, the internet, the texting, the taking photos of someone and threatening to, if you don't do what I'm asking you to do, I'm gonna send these photos around, I'm going to get extortion. If someone is using fear, obligation, or guilt to manipulate your behavior and control you, that is abuse. And that is not someone who you want to be with. I've worked with abusers as well, men and women. It is not just men. Women, we can get super nasty and controlling when we want to, and we know how to do it. So it also happens with young men as well. Does anybody have any questions? And again, this topic is so, there's so much to talk about. Mrs. Dybel could continue talking after I leave. I think I covered what I wanted to that she did not already cover. Okay, thank you for your attention.
All of you go to Hoover? Most of you go to Hoover? No? Okay. Have you seen me walking around?
Yeah.
Right. I'm Officer Taylor. I'm the school resource officer for North Canton. Just real quick about myself. I've been a police officer for, starting in a couple more weeks, it'll be 19 years. I started off in Hartville. I was up there for about 8 years, and then came down here in 2008. I was on the road for up until the beginning of school year this year. And then I was asked to take over the role as a school resource officer. But this was going to be a challenging thing to do, so I decided why not. 51 years old and figured, you know what, let's try something new in my life. So I delved into it and have had a blast. There's never a dull moment. You guys are exciting and fun to work for and with. Sometimes we have a little bit of differences, but we do move on. So I'm here today to talk to you. How do you talk to us? When something bad happens in your life or a crime happens to you, how do you talk to the police? First of all, we're human beings. I wear a uniform. If I take this off, I'm still somebody's dad, I'm somebody's father, I'm somebody's husband. I'm pretty easily approached. We can talk. There's a lot of things out there. You guys watch TV. How many of you guys watch CSI, NCI, Crime, all their stuff? Okay. Throw that out the door. That's not us. Right? Are there times that we can become rough or stern or things of that nature? Yes, because we have seen things in the past that go wrong very quickly and we see those approaching, so we take over a situation. Everybody hear of a type A personality? That's me. Young man in the back, black shirt, that's him too. The young part. The young part, yes. But we are what's called type A personalities. We like to be in control. So do we raise our voices? Yes, we do. I have my dad was a minister for 35 years, and I kind of got his voice. So if I have to, I can project very loudly. I can quiet a room. If you guys have ever been in the Commons or in the middle school in the cafeteria, I'm pretty sure with one shout I could probably quiet everybody down pretty quickly. With that being said, how do you talk to us? Right? You talk to us as an adult. We don't understand sometimes. We don't understand how you guys talk. My generation is completely different from you guys. I grew up with Atari. You guys grew up with PlayStation, Xbox. Two totally different things. Actually, I grew up with Pong. It's just two, anyway. So we are learning. We are constantly trying to learn your guys' language and how you talk. Snapchat. How many have Snapchat? How many have Instagram? Okay. I'm still learning. I have them, but I don't use them all the time because I'm old, so I use Facebook. How many of you guys use Facebook? Exactly. Okay. So when you come to talk to us, how do you talk to us about certain things? One of the things you guys deal with, and we'll start slow, is about theft. If I get something that's stolen, how do I talk to the police? What do I tell them? I'm going to ask you some questions, actually. I'm going to lead you down how I want things to be done. So you come to me and say, Officer Taylor, somebody stole my cell phone. Okay. When was the last time you saw your cell phone? Will be one of my questions. Next question will be, does it have a way of finding it? There's places we can ping phones from now that find my cell phone. There's an app on there on your phone. I know through iPhones you can use, I'm pretty sure with Droid you can do the same thing as well. Or another thing I'm going to ask, what does it look like? The other thing is if there's a password. How many of you have passwords on your phones? I would highly suggest that you change those passwords every 6 months. When we change the batteries for the fire detector, smoke detectors, change your password. Do not give your password out to anybody except for your parents. The reason I tell you to give it to your parents is because unless you have a job and you are paying for that phone, that's their phone, not yours. I get that quite a bit. I understand that you guys can't live without your phone. I do. I get that. But your parents still need to know your parents are the ones that bought that phone for you and that are paying for that, so on and so forth. So give them the password so they have that. And talk openly with them about things that are on your phone. Don't try to hide it. You hide it, it makes things worse. So back to the theft part. I'm going to ask you those questions. We're going to do what we can to try to find it. We can ping phones to try to find where they may be used at. Will we ever get your phone back? If I could, I would. There are times that we don't. There are times that we do. Another thing to talk about with you is telecommunication harassment. Okay, this also goes into Snapchat. All right. Some of you may be in a relationship. Some of you may not experience a relationship. We get a lot of times where people get into a relationship and they break up. Things just don't work out. Or one just doesn't want what the other one wants and they break up. But yet the communication still happens. It goes boy to girl, girl to boy, back and forth. And we get called because, look, this person continually contacts me, texts me, snaps me, does whatever, and I don't want it anymore. What are we as police are going to do about it? We're going to talk to you a little bit about it, and then we're going to ask you what the other person's name is and their phone number. We're going to tell you that we're going to call them, and we're going to explain to them, do you know so-and-so? And they will probably tell us yes. Okay. At this point in time, they've come to us, and we are going to take a report in reference to telecommunication harassment. That means that you're snapping them, you're chatting with them, you're sending text messages, you're calling them all hours of the night. They don't want it anymore. They want you to stop. So we're asking you to stop. Now, our police department does things a little bit different than other police departments. When we do a telecommunication harassment call, we will call that person and tell them to stop. And that pretty much ends our part of it. And then we put it back on the victim and tell them if they continue, write it down, they get a notebook, they call it this time, they snap me at this time, they, whatever they did, whatever time it may be, and then you come back to us, and then we'll look into charging them with it. But we'll tell the suspect when we call them, we don't want you to contact them anymore, and that means by cell phone, by computer, by iPad, by carrier pigeon, Coney Express, by other friends too. We have that happen a lot. Go tell, I want you to text her and tell her that I still love her, or whatever it may be. That can't happen, all right? And that's why we tell you to keep track of it, okay? If it continues to be a problem, then we'll look into charging them and sending them off to court to be in front of a judge in reference to, okay? So you guys may not have experienced that yet. Some of your parents may have experienced. Just got done talking with some of your parents over here in reference to that. I had a lot of head shakes going on in reference to it, that they've experienced that in their lifetime. Harassment. Okay. This can come in all times, shapes, and forms. Harassment and bullying kind of happen. It's kind of one and the same. We deal with this on a continual basis in middle school and in high school. It's something that we are trying to get ahead of, but we are behind the eight ball when it comes to the police department. Because a lot of times when crimes happen, we're already behind the eight ball. So when it comes down to the harassment part, the bullying part, how many of you have heard about this see something, say something, anonymous reporting system? What school do you go to if you don't mind me asking? Glen Oak? Okay. Who's your SRO over there? in your school resource officer in your building, are you a high school or junior? High school, so it's not Chad anymore, Chad Smith anymore. I can't remember who it is.
No, he's there.
He's there. He's a real big guy. He's just a taller version of me, about this tall. I'm better looking he is, but he's bald too. All right. Anyways, with the see something, say something, we have been using and has worked very well for us. And I would encourage you to use it, but don't abuse it. We've had a lot of things that over this last week, I'll tell you just, we've had a lot of things where it's been abused. And we're in the process of trying to find out who that was to prosecute. But I've also seen it work. You guys are basically an extension of what I do. You're the eyes and ears. We don't always know that, I mean, I've got roughly 4,300 kids to worry about every day in North Canton School District. You guys have friends. We have this see something, say something, and I will tell you that it has worked. We have caught, actually, we've had, since its inception 2 months ago, we've actually helped 2 kids who were in the process of committing suicide get them the help that they need. Because somebody took the time to call us and let us know about it. It's something you guys can do with this. I will tell you this though, if you're going to use it, keep the app open while we're talking to you or the administrators are talking to you. We get a lot of times where somebody will text us or snap or send in a tip and then they stop talking. And we have to assume some things, and we don't really like to assume. We like to get things going as quickly as we can. So if you happen to, I know they have it over at Glen Oak as well. You guys go to Hoover as well? Okay. So if you're going to use it, stay on the line with us. Or if you get asked to come down to the administrator's office, the principal's office, please come down. It will stay anonymous. You're helping somebody. All right, so come down and talk with us if we ask you to. Whatever you need to do to get out of class or if it's in between classes, come down and talk with us. Again, and that talk can be just, we're going to ask questions and just be honest with when you answer the questions. That's the biggest thing, is being honest with us when we ask things. There's one other, I want to talk just on dating and things that go too far, going into sexual assault or rapes, right? The biggest thing that I can tell you on that is, please, if it does happen to you, God forbid it does, but if it does happen to you, tell a trusted adult. Let them call us immediately, because there are things that we can do immediately to start working on finding or prosecuting the person who did this to you. There's a lot of help out there, but to get that help, you need to ask for it, and we're one of the corridors that we can get you down that way to do what we need to do to get you help, so that this doesn't happen to you again. First of all, I know I went over a lot of things really quickly. Any questions? Any questions? All right. Going back to theft of things. If you have, all of you have Chromebooks, is that correct? All right. Anybody had their Chromebook taken? No? Okay. Other things that can be taken that you bring to school, a lot of you, even in middle school, you guys bring your phones or iPads. Make sure that you have serial numbers and have taken a picture of what they are, and have mom or dad have a file. If you have a home computer, download that file at home so you have pictures and serial numbers of things, and even things that are valuable to you. If there's a serial number, take a picture of it. Your guys are always snapping, taking selfies of each other. Take a second, find a serial number, take a picture of it, and put it into a file someplace. That way, if we ask for any information, oh yes, Officer Taylor, wait a second, let me print this, here it is, here's everything that I need. Because what happens with a theft, if we get a serial number, we can put it out on a counter. It's a nationwide thing. It's called a bolo. We can bolo that. So if it ends up going someplace and another police officer finds it and he runs the serial number, oh, this is stolen out of North Canton. Or we can go to pawn shops. There's a lot of people that like to pawn things. We can go to those, and our detectives will go there, and if we have a picture, that's great, because we give it to the pawn shop owner. This is what we're looking for. And criminals are kind of stupid, and they'll come in there, hey, I just don't want to get rid of this, even though they know it's stolen. So, all right, I know that was pretty quick. Anybody have any questions at all? I know you guys have been standing here or sitting here for a while. So how about if y'all stand up for a second? Stand up and just stretch. When you're done stretching, you can have a seat.
Could you talk about like the sane nurse and stuff that
Oh,
you're talking about
yes.
there too?
Okay. When it comes down, when there is a sexual assault or there is a rape, we need to get you to a hospital. Right? There is evidence that needs to be collected, and there is a sane nurse there, and I wish I knew the whole acronym. It's sexual assault. I think it's nurse educator is what it is. SANE. These nurses are specially trained in sexual assault and rape. What they do is they'll take you into a room, you'll be in there with them, maybe with a doctor, maybe without a doctor, but they will start to take samples. They will take skin samples and other things. They will gather evidence for us. There's a whole kit that they go through. There's a checklist that they have to go through. They'll ask you certain questions. Once they are done with that kit, they seal it and they give it to us. And we come in and we start asking questions. We start doing our investigation into what happened. You know, who is this person? Do you know this person? How long have you known this person? You know, what happened prior to this? Did you see this? Is there something that that kind of triggered that you could have looked at maybe a little bit differently? And each one of those is a fluid situation. I don't have a specific list that I ask. I just go through. It is a very sensitive situation. It's a very sensitive crime that happens. We understand that as police officers. We go through some training in reference to it. And something like that is, I mean, it not only affects you, it affects your parents. It affects it could affect some of your siblings. It'll affect your school, church, social, your social interaction. It affects a lot of things. So with that being said, the quicker that we can get information to us and evidence to us, the quicker that we can get out there and do things and get our part started. Like I told the adults, all right, that I just told you to, watching CSI and NCI and those things. We don't solve crimes in 42 minutes with 18 minutes of commercials. It doesn't happen. That's not the way we solve crimes. It takes us, the wheels of justice sometimes turn very, very slowly. They turn, but they turn slowly. Sometimes it could take us a year to solve a crime. Sometimes it takes us several minutes. It all depends. But when it comes down to the sexual assault and the rapes and anything, the best way to talk to us, just talk to us. Don't hold anything back. Talking to us helps us. And actually it makes us, because I will tell you this, that going into something like this, I've had to do some of them, I'm just as scared. Because I don't want to let that person down by not finding the person who did this. It's something that's I take it very seriously, and most of our officers take it seriously. Are we scared? I'll tell you straight up, yes we are. We don't want to miss anything. So the best way that we can go in, take some deep breaths before we go in. If you were to take my heart rate going into a case like this, it'd be way up. But learn, bring it down, go in, and just talk. That's the thing. Communication.
I'm going to chime in on that one.
Yes.
And I wasn't gonna talk, but you guys hear, anybody who has any experience with me from school knows that I can't always hold back. One of the biggest things I see as a school counselor is that fear of telling the truth of what really happened. And as a school counselor, it frustrates me because I can help so much better if I really know what's going on. And that, I think, is one of those biggest things, is if you aren't being honest about what happened, they can't help as well as they could. I'm gonna give you guys a very, very generic example, but I had a say something alert. And it was someone specific, and so I called that person down and I had a conversation with them, and I thought I knew what was going on. And so then I called home and I spoke with mom, and mom was like, well, did they also say X, Y, and Z? Nope. So that opened up a whole nother piece of what was going on with this student. And some of it did involve a unwanted touching, okay? And so once we had more information, one, I could tell that student they did nothing wrong. We, quite honestly, don't care if you were drinking, if we're using something, if you were someplace where you weren't supposed to be. I don't care about any of that. What I care about is you getting justice for whatever may have happened to you. So whether it is a boyfriend-girlfriend situation, whether it's a friend, whether it's physical, mental, verbal abuse, I need the details. And you're afraid, you guys are so afraid to tell us the truth. But with the truth, we can help so much better. So please, please, please be honest. He's not gonna judge you because you were using something. He's not gonna judge you because you were drinking or you snuck out of the house. That's not the goal here. The goal is to get you justice for whatever happened to you. So please be honest with us. When we call you down and say, hey, we need to know what's going on in this situation, it's not because we want to bust you or we want to get you in trouble or we really even want to get the other person in trouble. 99.9% of the time it's because we want to get them help. So please, I have to say, it was very eye-opening for me recently. A student at the high school suggested that I watch 13 Reasons Why. And I fought it for the longest time. Fought it. And then finally I was like, okay, I'm gonna give it a try. My biggest issue with that show was that nobody was honest or told their parents anything that was going on.
Does anybody watch that? I mean, watch the show?
Yeah. It was like, why are you not talking to your parents? Why are you lying to your parents? Why are you hiding this stuff? Please talk to trusted adults. Tell us what's really going on. Because without that information, we can't really help. We may go in a totally wrong direction because we don't really know what happened. So please be honest with us. It's one of the most frustrating things that we have to deal with, I think, in dealing with students, is that you guys are afraid to tell us. But we can help so much more if you actually tell us what's going on. Okay, I'll get out of it.
Going on top of it, talk to your friends too. If your friends confide in you, tell them. Be honest with whoever they're going to talk to. It helps us so much more, because I can tell you, I've done cases where I'm in the middle of the case, and next thing I know, just as Tammy said, that they come back, well, this also, I'm not sure if this had anything to do with it, and they tell me, next thing you know, that had a lot to do with it. Because now that changes what I do and how I do things. So, if you find that your friends are looking to, they're having problems and they want to come talk to us or to a counselor, please tell them, be honest, be completely honest. The alcohol, whatever it may be, I'm not worried about it. Is it still illegal? Yes, I tell the people all the time. Right now, marijuana is still illegal in the state of Ohio. Right? Medical marijuana, no, they're working on it. Right? But right now, marijuana is still illegal in the state of Ohio. That being said, it's a whole nother class. But yes, being honest is without a doubt. And if you be honest, and even being honest with your parents, and truly talking with mom and dad, you'd be surprised when things go bad and you're honest with your parents and talking to them, things get a lot easier. So if you already have a good working or talking with communication with your parents, fantastic, keep it going. If you don't, open up to them. You'd be surprised what your parents do. Hey mom, dad, hey, we just need to go out and talk. Well, you'll scare them. I guarantee you that. You tell your parents, hey, I want to go out and talk. Well, what's this about? Let's just go out someplace and talk. Number one, if you do that, I guarantee you they'll take you wherever you want to go, within reason. But go and talk to them. Open up to them. Definitely. All right. You guys don't have any other questions? If you want to use the restroom, get something to drink. If you guys ever want to talk to myself or Officer Taya, please seek us out. In both the middle school, I'm not sure in the middle school, I have to check. I know in the high school, my phone number's up there. You can always call me, text me, or if you want to email me, my Officer Taya, we have school emails. It's just sro.taylor, sro.ataya, A-T-A-Y-A is his. It's T-A-Y-L-O-R. Let us know. Okay. Thank you for your time.
Information. And I was excited to get the call and come out and present today. My name is Chad Cunningham. Just quickly, a little bit about myself. 24 years in law enforcement. Just recently took an early retirement 2 years ago, and now I work full-time as the Director of Product Management at the Alice Training Institute, so Active Shooter Response Training. Within my 24 years of law enforcement, I left the University of Akron. I was there for 20 years. I dealt with a lot of college students, which I loved, and I was in the community policing and training division a lot. So I got to talk a lot with a lot of people. I do a lot of training throughout. Right now I do a lot of our self-defense classes with the Summit County Prosecutor's Office. So today we're only here for about 3 hours, and this is actually a 6-hour class. Is that good with everybody? I don't know, one of two things. You're asleep or you didn't hear what I just said. Mostly I get like gasped and everything like that. No, we're only going to talk for about a half hour. My program is actually 2 hours long. So I just want to give this caveat up front, and usually it's for females, right? At Summit County Prosecutor's Office, if you go to their Facebook page, I know y'all don't have Facebook, ask your parents to use theirs, right, I know. But the Summit County Prosecutor's Office, we do a program every month, somewhere within Summit County, and it's free. It's a 2-hour presentation. Some of the techniques and tactics we'll talk about today is there, but we get a little bit more advanced into what the tactics and techniques we talk about. So the next half hour, I want to go over just some really basic concepts, and then we'll get up and practice a couple things that I know most of you are wishing and hoping that we would do. So there will be some activity. Sound good? Now, life is not a spectator sport, neither is my class. So I have rules. 1, we're going to have fun. 2, class participation is mandatory. 3, I will pick on you. All right? If I pick on you, it's no disrespect. I'll even pick on Officer Taylor. It's just my way of following rule number 1. And he's been through a couple of my other classes that I teach, so he's already aware of it. So when we really talk about self-defense and people find out that I teach self-defense, the number 1 thing is, how do I become a ninja? Right? That's what you all came here today. In a half hour, you expect me to make you a ninja. Ain't gonna happen. I have a background in defensive tactics, and I've been teaching law enforcement for over 20 years in it, and I'm still not a ninja. All right? I trip over my feet all the time. But what we want to do is make you aware. We want to make some common concepts on how to get you away from a situation to get help. So when we start talking about the concepts we're going to show you, it's all about how do I get away to tell my story? How do I get away to communicate? So when people ask me, well, what do you teach? What's the coolest tactic that you teach people? What do you guys think it is? What do you think the number 1 safety tactic and technique is that I teach? What do you think? Screaming? Okay. What do you think? I have screaming. Hey y'all, you gotta talk to me or it's gonna be a long half hour, I'll tell you that right now. I know you're all in high school and thinking of big ugly guys up front, but we all need to communicate. Being aware of your surroundings. Being aware of surroundings. What do you guys think? Is that pretty important? Or do you think kicking butt is? That's option. Should we be aware or should we kick butt? Be aware. Yes, good options, especially with parents around, right? I know if we had the parents away, we could speak freely, but that's all right. It is being aware of your surroundings. Being alert and aware of your surroundings is the number 1 tip that I give everybody. When I taught at the University of Akron, when I teach it to adults, It's all about being aware of our surroundings, because I don't want to get into a situation where I have to use something. And that actually goes for law enforcement too. When I talk to rookie cops, I'm telling them, be aware of what's going around you so you don't have to use everything on that Batman belt. If we can look at a different way to approach something, if we can look at seeing a problem ahead of us, we can go the other way, find help quickly, right? So it's all about being aware of our surroundings. Now, how do you become aware of your surroundings?
Stay off.
Right? This is what I see. This is what I saw a lot in the college world. And I'm sure this is what Officer Taylor sees in the high school world. And this is what we see at all the shopping centers, right? You're all doing this. How am I aware of what's going on around me when I have my nose into my texting and into my electronic device? Can I be aware? Can I know what's going on? No. So what does this do? This goes away, right? I understand it's the adult umbilical cord. As children, we had the umbilical cord to save life, and I know this phone is your life, as I heard Officer Taylor talk about. It is your life. I understand that. I've seen college students bite it for some reason. I don't know why. But I know that's all your lifeline, your information. But we need to put it away when we're out and about. We need to have our heads up high. Even if it's a bad day, our heads are always high. Because research shows us that the criminal will pick on somebody and choose them who have their head down, not paying attention. Because you're not an easy target. You are an easy target. So even if it's a bad day, our heads are up. It's making quick eye contact with people. Now, since I've been up here talking and I got everybody around, what have I been doing? I've been making eye contact with y'all, haven't I? Now, any of it freaked you out yet? So that's quick eye contact. Research shows again that if we make quick eye contact with a potential criminal, they will actually go somewhere else to commit the crime because they think you can identify them. Now, when I say quick eye contact, it's basically this, not this. If I go around everywhere and I start doing this to people, does people like Officer Taylor get called? Yeah, but it's not about a criminal activity, it's what? It's some weird person keeps staring at me when they're walking through the mall, right? So we don't make staring competitions, it's just making quick eye contact. Even if you can identify them very quickly, they think they can because they have that mental mindset of being nervous and being identified. Oh,
yeah,
anybody need some?
who would still like a packet?
Who needs a handout? Anybody else? We'll put it over here.
Okay.
See, if I was on my phone, I would have noticed her behind me, and who knows, she could have packed. So, when we talk about being aware is very, very important. The second thing we need to understand, and now I know you're thinking, we need to go get to the good stuff. This is the good stuff. Because I don't want you to have to use that other stuff. Right? Is how do we communicate? Communication is actually very, very important. And it's a lost art. In your guys' era, millennials on up, you guys think this is communicating. I've actually made fun of my nephew and his significant other at a party, sitting next to each other on the phone texting. True story. I go, what are you doing while we're talking? You're sitting next to her. Talk. Use words. But we don't use words. And I know we hear a lot, be on the phone with somebody when you're by yourself and you're walking from one place to another. And a lot of law enforcement talks about that. I'm not a big proponent of that because what am I doing? If I'm on my phone, what am I paying attention to? What's going on around here or what's going on in here? I'm paying more attention to what am I talking about. Not only that, if I'm talking to my son at home, which is about 30 miles away from here, and I'm by myself, and right now I'm saying, oh no, somebody just grabbed me. What is he going to do for me? Right? Can he do anything for me? No, he can hear and then tell law enforcement later, I heard all the noise going on. I heard this and that. But put it away, be aware of your surroundings, get to your vehicles quickly if we're going to the vehicle, but knowing how to do that. But let's go back now and talk about communications. How do we communicate? Communication does two things for us. I said earlier about telling a story, right? What we say tells everybody around us what's going on. So when we talk about hear something, say something, same thing. If we hear something of a story of somebody telling us, we can tell somebody else what's going on. So it tells our story to people around us. Two, it allows you to breathe. How many of you ever been in a situation where you got real excited and all of a sudden you held your breath? Because of fright or anything like that, right? Absolutely. Now what could you do during that time of holding your breath? Not too much, can you? And what's cool about communication, if we start working on communication, you cannot communicate and hold your breath at the same time. Do you agree? So let's experiment. So what I would like you to do, when I count to 3, so it's going to be 1, 2, 3, you're going to take a big deep breath in, and you're going to hold it. And then you will introduce yourself to me. Okay? Without breathing. Sound good? All right, everybody in? On 3. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Why isn't anybody talking? Introduce yourselves.
Hi, my name is Kate Lochridge.
Oh. What did Kate do? You could hear it in the way she talked. Hello, my name is Kate, right? Because that air is being, in order for vocal cords to move, air has to pass through them. So that's kind of cool. If we're telling our story, we're communicating, right? We're telling our story and we're breathing. Because sometimes when people get excited, we hold our breath. And you can't do anything physical if you're holding your breath. When you go home, try it. Just wrestle around with somebody. And not like taking to the ground WWF stuff, but just kind of hold on to each other and kind of wrestle back and forth on your breath. See how long it takes before you start getting lightheaded, you can't do it anymore, and that's not what we want. If we do have to go into the tactics and techniques, we want to make sure you're breathing. Make sense? So communication is important. And sometimes it's not all the communication. I need a volunteer, please. Who would like to volunteer? Wonderful, Kate. I appreciate you coming up and volunteering. Come on up. All right, we'll go up here so everybody can see we're in the camera face. All right, now, communication is important, right? So, go ahead and grab my wrist. And we talked about earlier, somebody says that a lot of people, this is a form. That they grab your wrist and they want to take you. And I'm going to teach you how to get out of this here in a couple minutes. But if Kate is the bad guy, I'm the good guy, right? We're not role playing very well. From what I hear, she's very troublesome, right? I did my research. If she's trying to grab me and I want her to let go, I can use my words, right? Words are important. Words like what's on your handy-dandy handout. What are some words?
Verbal techniques, don't touch me, stay away from me, don't do that. Okay,
so I'm going to say some of these phrases. When you feel I've said the proper phrase for you to let go of me, now remember, you want me to go with you. You are a bad guy, you want me to go with you, no ifs, ands, or buts, right? But if I say something good, I want you to let go, right? Don't touch me. Leave me alone. Don't do that. Help. That worked. Help worked. Boy, you are nice. All right, come on back up there. I figured the other one sounded good to me, didn't you guys? But sometimes, I said all the right words, but what took her the longest? It took her a while, didn't it? Because sometimes it might not be what we say, but leave me alone! That make a difference. Right? Did you let go that time? Now she's barely holding my wrist right now. Now she's like, hold up. Right? Do I even have to say anything? What did I say there? No idea, right? I basically barked at her. But you know what? That stimulus, real quick, that loud noises attract attention, which bad guys don't like, right? And it's a stimulus inside the brain. People cannot multitask. I know some of you ladies are like, yeah, whatever. No, nobody can multitask. The brain cannot do two things at one time. What we look at is how fast your brain does process. And yes, you ladies process stuff quicker than us guys, right? Then when you get my age, it just keeps going lower and lower, right? So it's the processing speed. By giving a stimulus of yelling, even into the face of the attacker, I've now had them kind of do a brain freeze. It allows me to do something. So sometimes it's not always what we say, but how do we say it. Does that make sense? All right, thank you, Ms. Kate. I had to yell something today. So you invited me, right? So let's practice real quick. So Kate, give me a phrase. What do you want to practice? Leave me alone, don't do that, don't touch me.
Leave me alone.
Leave me alone, I figured. All right, so on the count of 3, I want you all to go as loud as far as you can, leave me alone. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Leave me alone! Really, that was it? There's like 30 people of you all. We should have people coming from upstairs down here going, what in the world's going on? Let's try that one more time. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Leave me alone! Much better, much better. Excellent. Now I have some single syllable words there. Help, police, fire. Right? Now, out of those three, which ones do you think is the best one to use?
Fire.
Fire.
Oh, I don't know.
Now, y'all know what I used to do. We have a Brother Blue in here, and you guys want to pick fire? I want him. I don't want a guy in a fire truck coming down the road. What's he going to do for me? Don't I want police? I'm sure when I yell police, and I'll just tell you, when you yell police, what do people do? They run. That's what I want people to do. Might be different for you all, though, right? But you're absolutely right. Most people, unfortunately, in our society today, people do not respond to the word help. They actually go the opposite way. Nobody wants to help anymore. It's very, very sad, in my opinion, right? If we yell police, nobody wants to get involved. So again, opposite direction. We don't get the help we need. But if we yell fire, what happens? Everybody comes out of everywhere with what? Hot dogs, marshmallows, chocolate, graham crackers, sticks, right? We're all pyromaniacs at heart. We want to come see that fire. We want to come see that. Or some of you adult females want to go see the firemen. I understand that. But you ladies cannot, you teenagers, no seeing firemen, okay? But whatever the case may be, it does bring people out, and that's what we want, right? Large crowds, loud noises. That's what communication does for us. Does that make sense? So but if we're doing a single syllable word, we say that 3 times. Sound good? So it would be fire 3 times. Because fire once, everybody's like, what did you hear? Did you hear something? But we want that message continuously going. So after every technique we teach today, and we go through, I want you to yell something. I want you to communicate. Get used to that. Because after every technique, what do? We run away. Adults will get this, like Monty Python, right? Run away. Only a couple. Okay, bad jokes, those are free. All right, so let's talk about, though, what happens if we do everything right. Does bad things still happen? Absolutely. So how do we get, and we're going to go from some very slow, what I call soft techniques, and then we'll get into some hard techniques. When am I done, by the way?
I think you started at 45 after, so 15.
3:15?
Yeah.
Okay. I hate time. All right. So let's look at one technique that we're going to look at. And I think this is one's very, very important. When I talk about the class, I always tell people this is the one you should always practice. And it's one that Kate was started with me. So do I have another volunteer? Wonderful. Come on up. You're not going to hurt me, are you? I'm old and fragile. All right. Wonderful. Now, you are?
Miori.
Miori?
Yeah.
All right, Miori. I'm Chad. Nice to meet you. Excellent. All right. You're going to play the part of the bad guy. Girl. Person. Bad person. I am the innocent person. Fragile. Got it? All right. So you're going to take me over to that wall. Most people, if they're going to drag you somewhere... No, wait a minute. If they're going to drag... You're supposed to hang on, by the way. But if they're going to drag you somewhere, most of the time they're going to grab your wrist. In any part of the body, if somebody's going to take you and drag you, it's usually some type of a wrist grab and a wrist pull, right? Many times, you know, they might grab a coat, they might grab a shoulder, but it depends on what's there. Easiest point of anything somebody's going to grab is a wrist. It's mostly some part of the arm. Now, when we look at a wrist grab, when we look at the hand, in the hand you have 4 fingers and a thumb. In that 4 fingers you have a palm, and where do you think? If I grab, where's the strong point of my grab? 4 fingers in my palm, right? Where's the weak point? Thumb. We're going to go against the weak point of the wrist grab, which is the thumb. All of our techniques and tactics goes towards the thumb, because if it doesn't go towards the thumb and I go up into the hand, I'm going against their strength and I don't want to do that. Does that make sense? So again, she grabs my wrist, and as soon as she grabs, I'm going to do one of 2 things. I'm either going to go down, or I'm going to go up. And it's actually that simple. Because again, if I grab, and if I look real quick, and most of the time it is, if somebody grabs you, what's the first thing you're going to do? Look at where that grab is. But now if you can function quickly enough to see, all right, I see 4 fingers up, that means I have to push my hand down. If I see a thumb up, that means I have to bring my hand up. But sometimes we may not have that. So what do? We try, either way. If I go up first and it doesn't work, what do? Come straight down. So, hold this up. Now, I want you to take me over there. Oh, what? Fine, you're going to use 2 hands? Go ahead, you can use 2 hands. Why? And use two hands. So while she does that, but the biggest thing you have to look. You had two hands, what up? Practice this earlier. No, we didn't, you're right. But she used two hands, what happened? Did it still work? Sure. Now, you guys might be looking at going, yes, you're twice her size, you've done this. It's not fair. Well, let's see. Are you ready? Now I'm going to take you over to that wall. Now, first off, before we do it, am I holding tight?
Yes.
Okay, where's my thumb? It's on the bottom. So that means you're going to do what? Hand down. Now again, it's just down to your pants. I always say wipe the cookie crumbs off. Or slick your hair back. Very simple. The biggest thing is not to go slow. It's speed. All right, so you ready? Now this one, do not hit yourself in the head. All right, now, let's look at her arm too. Is her arm extended? How many of y'all ever done the technique where you take a can, put it in your arm, hold it out here, and see how long you can hold it? You ever done that before? It starts to get heavy out here, doesn't it? Because we're stronger the more towards the core of the body we are. So if her arm, if I extend her arm, she loses strength, and it's harder than to bring that wrist up or down. So she actually wants her arm bent, so that's either trying to pull me towards her, so either she tries to pull, but if I'm bigger than she is, she may have to take a half step forward to get that arm bent. Right? Because now with that arm bent, what can she do? Whatever you want to do. Sorry. I wasn't ready yet. No, I'm kidding, go ahead. There you go. Go fast. You went slow.
Grab my hand.
You were getting away. All right, good. Was I holding on tight?
Yes.
Were you still able to get away?
Yes.
Was it difficult?
No.
Excellent. That's what I like to hear. Round of applause. Thank you. So what I want you guys to do, I want you to get with your partner. Find a partner. And I want you to go 5 wrist grabs on the right hand, 5 wrist grabs on the left hand. You have 5 minutes to do it. And I want to jump into a couple more before we get out of here. All right? Now I'm going to be around to watch. And remember, when you go up, do not give yourself forehead. Yes, you all. Over here.
Okay.
And don't just let go.
Take off. Wait.
Now, you should be getting. Yeah, watch it. You don't knock each other out too with an elbow to the face. Don't just let go. If you let go, make sure you hold on tight so they can get away.
I'll just put that in my sweaty hands. I know, my hands are sweaty. No! If you're bad, let's talk. You know what's you good? Let's go. It's not fair to win. I could just take just allow the
If I go
Why are your wrists so small?
all that speed
You're holding my wrist. Oh,
right. Excuse me, everybody do 5 and 5? Everybody got it? All right, again, you don't have a lot of time here to practice this. You gotta practice this on your own. Don't have a lot of time to go through it. Normally in our 2-hour class, we give you a little bit more time. Normally what I talk about then is what's called a jugular knot push-off, more of that doesn't really hurt anybody, not a lot of techniques, but looking in the upper soft tissue of the neck area, that's always a fun one. Pinches, finger twists are all kind of areas that we look at there. Now I know most of you came for what I'm going to talk about now in the next 5 minutes. What do we do with the groin triangle? Very quickly, I want to show you, and then we're going to actually be able to do it. A groin slap grab, knee strikes, and a groin kick. So I need a volunteer. Thank you, one of you too.
Brave guy.
Again, most of my classes I teach are mother-daughter. When I get guys, they are what I call my ukes. In Japanese means practice dummies. Just kidding, sir. All right. Sort of. All right. Can everybody just, if I stand here, can everybody see?
No.
Maybe if not, who cannot?
Behind the post.
Well, why are you behind the post? Yeah, but, all right, so we'll go this way. You guys might need to move a little bit. So we'll go here. Now, groin slap. If I'm going to use a groin slap, the groin in the groin triangle, right? I want to use open palm. I don't want to try a fist or anything like that. I want open palm. I have more real estate to use to my advantage. Not only that, when I look at doing this technique, this is the thing. If I'm standing face to face with my person, this is how most of y'all talk to each other. When you actually communicate, most people will stand shoulder to shoulder, right? And that's okay, but now if I have to do a groin slap for whatever reason, we're in close, it's a groin slap, what do I have to do? I either have to move to go for the groin, which does what? It's called telegraphing. So now the attacker can go, well, no, what, right? So I don't want that to happen. So what I want you guys to start looking at and understanding is, when I stand to talk to somebody, all right, now this is a secret. This is SPS, secret police stuff. I'm going to show you right now. This is what you teach all the academy cadets on how to stand and talk to somebody. After I tell you this, you'll go, oh, they did. And you'll see other people. When I stand and talk to somebody, I cut them in half. I take my dominant hand and I cut them directly in half. Because now, it's too full. If I have to do a technique, I'm already right where I need to be. I don't have to move anything else. Make sense? Not only that, you can put your arms up, sir. Your name is? Dave. Dave, Mr. Dave. When Mr. Dave has his arms up, if I'm shoulder to shoulder and he comes to attack me, he's already got me, right? But if I'm already standing offset, what we call an offset, so again, cutting him in half, and now he comes to attack me, all I have to do is what? I'm already half gone. All I have to do is take a step, and I'm out of his grab reach. Does that make sense to everybody? So it's one, arms up please, Dave. It's just, as he comes at me, if I'm already here, all I have to do is kind of push it out of the way. And I'm already half gone. But if I'm going to do technique, I'm already exactly where I need to be. Now, when I do this technique for groin slap, open palm hand, right, to the groin, what do? I wind up just like this, and I bring it all forward, right? No, that's telegraphing again, isn't it? All I need to do is what? Bend my elbow. That's all I need. And we call it a slap and grab. We slap, full force, and then I don't like to waste energy. We're there, might as well grab. Then I'm going to show you something else. Because again, I don't like to waste energy. Make sense? So it's going to look like this. Are you ready, sir? That's right, I'm a trained professional. All right. So again, I just take it, and it's, oh, you're pretty good. But you see a move? You did not trust me. Everybody that does this for me always does it, right? Because why? Anything in that area, we're like, woo. We don't want anything there. It's painful. Now we're talking about a male. Can it work against a female also? Do we have female attackers? Absolutely we do. Can you still do the same technique? Yes, you can. Right? I just tell you to use a little bit more of the palm heel to strike than the whole hand. Right? But the same technique. Now, so I'm up there, right? A groin slap grab. Now what do I do? It's kind of like, okay, now we're here, now what? Right? Makes sense. I always thought the same thing when I started teaching this. I'm like, all right, let's figure something else out. Because I'm in control, let's take it one step farther. Now I want you to start the mower. Now you got it, right? And it's not the push button one. Okay? So we got the slap grab and we start that mower. Now they're probably crying on the ground and we're doing what? Running away. Excellent. Fire, whatever. Absolutely. Whatever we need to do. Right? Make sense? All right. Now, next thing we do. So that's your groin slap grab. Next one is, how about if I'm in close and he grabs me? grab my shoulder. Right? How about they're grabbing me? This is a physical, isn't it? How do I get away from here? Can I groin slap from here? Probably not.
Your knee.
I can't kick either, but can I use my knee? Knee strikes. Anything that I'm here and I'm grabbed, I can come in and do knee strikes. Now when I do a knee strike, I step back and I drive into the abdomen. Anywhere from that abdominal area to top of thighs. I don't care where it is. I'm just going to drive my knee into it. And again, it's kind of like that single syllable communication. We do it 3 times. Because think about it. Each time I drive that knee into his body, what does he do? He bends over a little bit more, a little bit more. So the first strike might be in the abdomen, right? So then he bends over. The second strike might be a little higher. Third strike's where? Right in the face. Is that okay? He attacked you, right? You're defending yourself. Make sense, everybody? Now, when I say knee strike, I step back and I drive. I step back and I drive. So everybody understand that? This is not a jazzercise move. I don't want to see this. You have no power. You step back and you drive into it. You step back and you drive into it. Does that make sense? All right. Third one is a groin kick. Now, when we kick, this one I have problems with, so hopefully you're good. When we kick, a lot of you see martial arts, you see these little snap kicks. Something like this. We're not snap kicking. Those are for points, right? Martial arts uses more for points. I want you to take that leg, which, ladies, where's all of our power? Hips and legs, right? I want you to take that leg and I want you to think of it as like a log. It's just this big old log that we're going to take from back here and we're going to bring it up to here as one full unit. So first thing, my hands are going to be up. This is for balance. I'm going to take a step with my non-dominant foot. I'll come out here so everybody can see. My non-dominant. I'm just going to take a step out to the side. When I do that, what happens to my hips? They're kind of wound a little bit, right? Now, the only thing that's holding this wind is that back leg. When I release that back leg and make it go forward, I have all the power of this wind in my hips to follow it. Does that make sense? Now, how I want to put my toe is just like a football punter. I want toes down, shoelaces up. I don't want this, I want that. So shoes, right, toes down, shoelaces up. So as I come in, hands up, you do voodoo at them, right? Plus it protects you, gives you balance. I take that step, and I release. As I release, all the way through. And I want you to follow all the way through. I want you to visualize your foot starting here and ending there. You should be able to lift this person off the ground. Watch as I lift Mr. Dave off the ground in this next technique. All right? Are you ready, Mr. Dave? It's all right. Only missed 3 times. I've only done this 3 times, so I don't know. It's all good, right? So again, my hands are up. I take that step. As I take that step, my hips are wound. I release and come all the way through. Again, he doesn't trust me. I thought we were friends. But see how my toe is down and my shoelaces are up. And what I do is, I come in, I follow all the way through. You didn't think I'd get my leg up that high, did you? Not bad for an old guy. So again, bring it in, all the way up. I want to take that as far as I possibly can. Because if I visualize going as high as I can, what's happening? All that power is doing the same thing. Does that make sense? So this is what we're going to do. We're all going to get in a line here. Do I still have time? Okay, good. Let's switch places, David. You're going to be... You get to kick me now. All right, so we're going to get in a line. You're going to come up. First person up, you're going to do a groin slap. Now, when you do a groin slap on the bag, make sure your elbow is bent. Yeah, you're not doing it to me. But make sure your elbow is bent, because if I hyperextend my elbow, if I put my elbow all totally straight, and I hit this, I can hyperextend it. I don't want you to hyperextend anything. Everybody understand that? Elbow slightly bent, come in, slap, grab, start the mower. So it'll look like this. Good, sir. Yep, slap, grab, mower. Make sense? Then you're going to go to the back of the end of the line. Then you're going to come all the way through. First person, if I don't recognize you as the first person, tell me, I'm the first person, I gotta adjust the bag. Okay? So when you come back up, you come back up. This time you can either put your hands on the bag or on my shoulders, either way. Now I want you to do 3 knee strikes, as hard as you possibly can. Does that make sense? Let's show them what you got. Big D. Let's hit it. Come on, hit it. Come on, come on. Good. 3 good knee strikes. Go to the back of the line. Come back through. This one especially, tell me you're the first person. I need to adjust. All right? So, this is the groin kick. All right? Take the step, and I want you to kick. I want you to kick. If not, I'm going to make fun of you, just so you know. I want you to kick as hard as you possibly can. All right, if you kick well enough. Yeah, my wife might pay for that one. Might pay her for that one. That was good. Now, why did I have him do it so hard? To show what? You're not, one, he kind of lifted me a little bit, didn't he? And 2, you're not going to hurt me. So I don't want you to come up and say, well, I don't really want to do this because you're going to hurt me. Nobody, you don't know me. And again, if you do it well enough, I have my wife here with me today. This is the, see? She's already cheerleading. Go for it. You might make money. You may make money on this, right? But I want you to come up and go through it. You're not going to hurt me. Does that make sense to everybody? All right, let's get a quick line.
Good job, David.
Thank you, Steph. Big one. I didn't think that was going to happen this Sunday, did you? All right, come on. Let's go. First up, let's go. I don't have. Go ahead. Right side. Slightly bent. Yep. Good. Yep. All right, go to the end. Just remind me you're in the number 1.
I'm not going to hit any.
Nice to meet you.
Oh, no.
Sorry.
There you go. Good.